Welcome to the UpNext AI podcast. It's Thursday, August 20th, 2026. And here's what matters in AI today. OpenAI says it temporarily slowed the pace of scaling its latest frontier models after two developments raised the stakes: the OpenAI Hugging Face security incident and preliminary evidence that an upcoming model called Astra may meet the company's threshold for critical cybersecurity capability. The concrete change was a 2-week pause in reinforcement learning training for its latest models intended for deployment. Its largest planned frontier reinforcement learning run remains on hold while the company conducts smaller training runs and evaluations, tests safeguards, and gathers more evidence of aligned behavior. OpenAI's new approach has 3 layers: monitoring, alignment, and security controls. On the infrastructure side, it is increasing workload isolation for model-generated or otherwise untrusted code, tightening network isolation from the internet and internal networks, and improving continuous security testing. It says the strictest controls now apply to work involving Astra and cyber models, and that a significant number of workloads remain paused until they meet the new standard. The monitoring system is also expanding. Automated detectors inspect model activity and escalate suspicious signals to more capable investigators that examine tool actions and the sequence of activity. OpenAI says it aims to alert within 30 minutes when concerning behavior surfaces. If teams cannot rule out a serious flag within that same window, they are expected to pause the activity. The company estimates monitoring can add roughly 20% to the inference compute being monitored. This is a meaningful operational signal. OpenAI is presenting safety not as a deployment filter at the end of development, but as a constraint on the training environment itself. That security-first posture leads naturally to a separate OpenAI announcement aimed at organizations handling sensitive data. The company has reaffirmed zero data retention for eligible API customers, meaning it says prompts and model responses are not retained after a request is processed, are unavailable for personnel review, and are not used to train models unless the customer explicitly opts in. The harder problem is that some misuse patterns only emerge across a sequence of interactions, not in one prompt. OpenAI's answer is a preview feature called Private Safety Processing. It is designed to let automated systems identify patterns across related interactions while preventing OpenAI personnel from seeing the underlying customer content. For zero data retention deployments, the company says content stays on infrastructure controlled by the customer. It is also developing an option for OpenAI-hosted storage encrypted with keys controlled by the customer. In either case, the intended output is a narrow safety signal about the category of potential misuse, rather than access to the prompts or responses themselves. Private safety processing is being tested with early customers, and OpenAI plans to begin rolling it out in September alongside a technical white paper. For buyers of frontier model APIs, the important question is no longer simply whether a provider retains data. It is whether the provider can operate meaningful safety controls without turning sensitive workloads into a reviewable data pool. For the research note, a Nature article published Tuesday focuses on the safety and security of large language models in healthcare. Its topic matters because clinical systems can combine sensitive patient information, high-consequence decisions, and connections to records or other operational tools. The article's reference base spans risks that matter in that setting: medical benchmarks that can overstate real-world readiness, adversarial attacks on medical AI, prompt injection against clinical decision support systems, privacy exposure, jailbreaks, and the possibility that models give plausible but unreliable answers. It also points to implementation work on language models in electronic health records and to safety frameworks such as the OWASP Guidance for LLM Applications. The takeaway for healthcare leaders is not that a single control solves the problem. Clinical AI needs evaluation for real workflows, security testing for how information and tools are connected, and human oversight appropriate to the consequence of an error. The article is a broad safety and security treatment rather than a single deployment study, so its lessons should inform risk assessment, not substitute for local validation. Are you building apps with voice? Elevate your app's voice capabilities with 11 Labs. Their API is a game changer for embedding dynamic, responsive voice interactions in your applications, providing unprecedented realism, flexibility, and latency. In fact, you're listening to one of their voices right now. If you are a developer looking to elevate user experience with natural voice interfaces, this is your solution. Visit upnext.fm/11 to check out their latest offerings. TechCrunch reports that Cognition's chief executive denied a report that SpaceX tried to acquire the AI coding startup. The report comes as SpaceX, which has already acquired Cursor, seeks to compete more directly in enterprise AI against companies including OpenAI and Anthropic. The Decoder reports that Anthropic is using an unpublished internal system called Model 2, described as more powerful than any publicly available Claude version. The report concerns internal use, not a public product launch, so it is a reminder that external model releases may not reflect the full capability of a lab's internal systems. Developer Simon Willison tested small machines and SmallVM as a potential sandbox for untrusted Python and JavaScript. The goal was to run user-supplied tasks with limits on CPU and memory, no network access, and access only to designated files. When nested virtualization blocked the first test environment, the agent used GitHub Actions runners that exposed the required virtualization support to run the test battery. And Willison highlights Jeremy Morell's argument for a new generation of extensible web software. Keep a solid, accountable core application, then let users safely add capabilities with LLM-authored extensions running inside modern sandbox boundaries. It is a design thesis, but an increasingly relevant one as AI lowers the cost of writing small, task-specific software. Before we wrap up, a quick note. This podcast is generated with the assistance of AI and is intended for informational purposes only. All referenced articles, research, and commentary remain the property of their original authors and publishers. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review, and that's your briefing for today. Full source links are in the episode notes, and we'll be back tomorrow with what's up next.